Hello, I'm John Bathke, and this is the On the Scene podcast, where we talk arts, culture, and all things entertainment. Actress Dana Delany has been a regular on television since the late 1980s. That's when she got her big break, starring as an army nurse on China Beach. She won 2 Emmy Awards for that role, and she has appeared in many TV shows since then, including Body of Proof, Hand of God, and of course, Desperate Housewives. She also has a career in theater and is currently appearing at McCarter Theater in Princeton, New Jersey, in the new play Goodnight Nobody, in which she stars as an artist who is having a difficult relationship with her son. We sat down at the theater for this conversation.
I actually am a big art person myself. I kind of travel all around the world and look at art. It's my little passion project that is really nothing to do with acting, and I keep it pure. Like, I don't collect art. I don't want to monetize it. I just want to keep it it makes me happy. So I was interested in playing an artist because I know a lot of artists. And I like women of this generation that were artists because they had to really work hard to get there. Somebody who probably started in the 80s and Lower East Side and, really had to fight among all the men that were going on then. I still do, but to make, a mark in the art world, because it's a business. It's not just an art, it's a business. Mm-hmm. So I was interested in playing somebody like that.
Mm-hmm. And the dynamics of the people in the play. There is one scene between you and your son, and it is a campfire scene. So a lot is getting revealed. It's around a campfire. That's what happens at campfires. But it's after things have not gone exactly as planned at the cabin.
Right.
And it's a very personal and touching scene between the two of you, and you're trying to reach out. And he's really not responding.
Right.
Really, to me, a pivotal scene in the play. How long did you work on that? Was that a difficult scene to nail?
It really wasn't difficult. One, because the writing is so good. Rachel Bond's writing is just, it flows because it's deceptive. It seems like it's how people talk, but it's very particular. Like every pause, every comma, everything is very much scripted. It's not ad-libbed at all. So the challenge was there's a lot of overlap, so staying on top of that, because as you say, it builds into something. But Nate Miller is such a good actor who plays my son, and he's just so there. If anything, he challenges me because I got to keep up with him because he's young and has energy. But he is on it. But yeah, so much of the play is about motherhood and how it's almost impossible to be a mother. You're just never, ever going to get it right. There's no way you can ever get it right. And this character, Mara, has chosen to be a single mother. So that's a whole nother challenge in itself.
Did you base anything on your own mother and your relationship you had with your own mom?
Everything is based on my mother. Every character I play is based on my mother.
No, are you kidding? Really?
No, I'm serious.
Different aspects of her?
Yes. I had a very interesting mother, so she's a wealth of opportunity to draw from.
But do you still have your mother, man?
No, my mother's no longer around.
Okay,
yeah.
but your mom had a long life, and she was working into her 80s.
Yes, she was, yes.
Yeah.
So I grew up with a mother who was an artist, really, a designer, was a worker. I was raised to be a worker. Work is very important, to be rigorous in your work. And so that's definitely something that's in me. And as my character, Mara, says to my son, maybe you need to work harder, And that's something that she believes in.
Do you think if you had had children, you would have been a mom like your mom? Did you ever think about that? It's a tough question.
I think it's a question every woman has to go through at some point in her life. Do I want to have kids or not? It's a question for every woman.
Right.
And no, I was terrified. No, I grew up in that era where I remember Katharine Hepburn saying, because I was alive when she said it, that acting is a selfish profession and it's impossible to do both. And I kind of agreed with her. I really do not know how actors have children, female actors have children. I don't know how they do it.
Even today?
Even today. I really do not know how they do it, considering how much it requires. And you're always going to feel like you fall short. And even if you have money, you know, that doesn't really change anything.
So many people first became aware of you on a national scale when you starred in China Beach, and won a couple of Emmy Awards for it. How did that change your career?
You know, it's funny, when I was doing China Beach, I was, again, working so hard, you know, like 18-hour days. I didn't know at the time that it was that popular or what it meant about me, because I was just, it was about the work. And so it wasn't until after it was over that I thought, oh, I was spoiled by it, actually. It was such a great role, and it was such great writing, and it was done with such care that I thought it was always going to be like that, and it's not always like that, you know, and the roles for women are not always that interesting. And I just thought, oh, great, now I'm on my way, and, you know, and it's not always like that. Your careers are many different paths, you know, and you just got to keep going.
Did you think, well, after this there'll be another series, I will just, you know, I've built into something, I have a notoriety, it's just going to be...
No, because back then, people don't remember this, but television was looked down upon. It was still, it was very looked down upon. It was a snotty thing back then, you know. You did not do television, you just did movies and theater. And it changed, it's still changing. I mean, now everybody wants to do TV, but back then it was like you got a little notoriety in a show and then you do movies, you know, which is what I tried to do.
And then you ended up with Desperate Housewives.
And then I came full circle.
Which is a very different kind of,
Yes.
part.
Yes.
What was that like?
That was unexpectedly fun. Because, you know, it's all very well known now that I had been offered the show originally and I had turned it down. And then it became this huge hit and I was like, oh my God. And then Mark Cherry came back to me, which was very nice of him. He certainly didn't have to. And offered me a different role. And I thought, why not? You know, why not? And it took me a couple episodes to figure out what the show was, because it was such its own beast, you know. It was so heightened and a mix of comedy and drama and mystery, but somehow Mark got that triangle right, you know, and it worked for whatever reason. I don't think he even knew why it worked. But once you realize that you could be as big as you wanted to on it and just be as bold as you wanted to, it was really fun, and you just kind of would be insane, and my character was insane. You know, I killed my child, I killed my ex-husband, I went crazy, I decided I was a lesbian, it was just all these things happened.
I read, tell me if this is true, that another part you had turned down was the part of Carrie on Sex and the City.
Yeah,
is
well,
that true?
Well, you know, it's just, I feel like I'm the turn down girl. I was friends with Darren Star, who created the show, and I had just done a little movie called Live Nude Girls with Kim Cattrall. That was very similar in tone, of women, young women sitting around talking about sex at a slumber party. And he'd seen that, and I think he had read Candace Bushnell's. So he came to me and said, do you want to do this thing? He came to me and Kim, actually, and said, do you want to do this thing? And I was like, ugh, I can't do one more thing about sex. I just cannot do something called Sex and the City. I've done too many things like that. So I said no, and then, again, big hit.
Did you regret it?
I try not to regret anything. I feel like there's a reason for everything.
It's a useless emotion.
Yeah.
And it's that nagging emotion that can really damage a person if you just live in that place. And I think for actors, you know, I don't think other people in other professions get asked that question so much. You know, are you sorry you turned down that job?
Yeah.
But with acting, because of the
It's in
very
the public
public
eye.
nature
Yes,
of it,
yes.
are you sorry you turned down that role?
Yeah.
You know, well, you know.
Yeah. And also the other thing to say is it was never my role. Until you take the job, it's not your role. I mean, that is Sarah Jessica Parker's role. You know, she made that role, and it made it hers. I would be a completely different person in that role. So you can't really even think of it as your role.
What is the favorite thing you've done?
Oh, wow. I did a play last year that I really liked called Collective Rage off Broadway. I Will Always Love China Beach. I did a movie with Paul Schrader called Light Sleeper that I really liked a lot, that I feel like not enough people know about. It's kind of, now that he's, did First Reform last year, people are talking more about other things that he's done. I don't know, maybe it's still in the future. I don't know.
I know that you are a huge fan of old movies.
Yes, I am.
And I'm picturing you sort of, in your home watching these 1930s, 1940s films. Do you take anything from those actresses?
Oh God, yes.
And bring it?
Oh yes. In fact, I remember when I did a guest episode of Moonlighting, right when I first started, which really got me a lot of work after that. And Glenn Gordon Caron, who created it, was like describing the character. I said, "Oh, it's Gloria Graham in The Big Heat." He goes, "Yeah, that's it." And I just, modeled it after her. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely do that.
You've been asked about this before, and I find this the most unusual thing that comes up in an interview with any celebrity, but not unusual with you, and that is your family history.
Oh.
And you know where this is going
Yes.
already, with the toilet.
Yes, yeah.
What is that about?
My great-grandfather, I guess it was, maybe great-great-grandfather, came over from Ireland and was a plumber on the Lower East Side. We're talking like 1830s, way back. And he was a Lower East Side plumber and, was trying to better himself and develop this valve that my grandfather perfected. It was a flush valve for toilets. So, he developed a patent for that, and then he got to move from the Lower East Side to Brooklyn, that was like the countryside back then. That was very upwardly mobile, as it is now too, but to go to Brooklyn back then. And he built a factory and manufactured these flush valves for toilets, which is called the Delany flush valve. Right.
So every time you're in the toilet, it's like family history and family success.
If I see on the back of the valve it says Delany flush valve, then I know that's a good luck sign, and I'll flush the toilet, for good luck.
That was my conversation with Dana Delany, appearing in Goodnight Nobody at McCarter Theater through February 9th. And be sure to check out other On the Scene podcasts on news12.com or wherever you listen to podcasts, and also check out the On the Scene TV show on news12.com. I'm John Bathke, and this is the On the Scene podcast.